What's going on, everybody? So let's talk about that last episode of The Walking Dead. I don't mean last episode ever, but the one that just aired, Rick Grimes' final episode, and probably not necessarily the last episode I'll watch, but this will probably be the last YouTube video I make about talking about The Walking Dead. I've made quite a few in the past, so I felt like it was only right to talk about this episode since I had speculated on it since the news came out that Rick was going to leave and whatnot, so I figured I'd finish it all up and just talk about it here real quick, just give my quick thoughts, not really a full episode review, if you will, but more of just thoughts and ideas and feelings and emotions. Speaking of emotions, as I've mentioned millions of times before, The Walking Dead I have not felt emotionally invested in since maybe season 6, season 5, season 6, I'm not sure. And it's really sad because this was a show that I really gave a shit about. I really cared about these characters, following them from season 1. I love season 1, season 2, 3 has a lot of problems, but you know, I still like it, 4 or 5. And then it just sort of just flickered off into Shitsville. And now Rick Grimes' last episode, because Andrew Lincoln is even smart enough to know that he wants to get out of this show, and apparently from his interview on Talking Dead last night, he wanted to die at the end of season 8, but he didn't want to throw that 1-2 punch of Carl dying and then Rick dying on the audience, so he decided to wait until season 9. So I respect him for that, in a way, because he realized how shitty the series was going, and it's like, I'm not going to do that. That's a little too much to do to the audience. I also really like that he called Rick a cuck. If you watch that Talking Dead interview, he literally is like, oh yeah, Rick is, tossing between going from a father figure to a cuckold. And I was just like, wow. An English man dressed up in a suit, like, very sophisticatedly said the word cuckold in a serious manner, and I lost it. So Rick's last episode, of course, is an episode dealing with lots of hallucinations and flashbacks that they did, and I expected that, and a lot of it was done really good. Honestly, the episode in itself was very well made. I believe it was another Greg Nicotero directed episode, and I got nothing to say about the quality of the episode. The episode was well made, it was well paced, it was good, I have nothing to say about the filmmaking of the episode. It was fine. Greg Nicotero is a good director. And Andrew Lincoln is a fantastic actor. I don't have any gripes with the direction or the episode in itself, but just the idea around it, As my friend Vogie said, the episode was fine, it's just stupid. And it is just stupid, but Andrew Lincoln wants out of there, so we'll have to see what happens. So basically, spoiler alert, if you don't know, he had a bunch of hallucinations. He talked to Shane, so it was cool to see him come back. Herschel, which was harder to see come back, knowing that the actor is actually dead. So that was one. And then he talked to Sasha as well, which I thought was strange, just because, is it just me? I don't think Rick and Sasha were that close, were they? Maybe I'm wrong, because the past couple of seasons, I've kind of been in and out, haven't been as emotionally invested. Maybe I just kind of missed that dynamic. But wouldn't it have made more sense if it was like Carl or even Glenn? But of course I know Carl's never going to come back because of the behind the scenes drama that went on with his actor in the Walking Dead show. And I noticed that Carl was not even mentioned in the episode. Rick mentions my family a bunch of times, but he name drops Judith, he talks about his wife, I believe, but I don't think he ever brings up Carl, and I'm wondering if that was a contractual, thing because of the drama that went on between firing Carl and killing him off the show and whatnot, if they weren't allowed to say his name and whatnot. So I'm wondering if that was a thing, but I digress. So Rick's bleeding out, he's having all these visions, he gets back to the bridge, everyone finally shows up, and Rick blows up the bridge, seemingly dies. But then he's washed up on shore, and that junkyard lady finds him and calls the helicopter that's been flying around for 2 seasons. What is this helicopter? Who's piloting it? Where is it going? Aren't they wasting gas driving around? What is happening with this helicopter? Who the fuck knows? But it picks Rick up, and she says he's going to be okay. So Rick is still alive, even though he's leaving the show. He's still alive, and they fly off somewhere. And then we get a time skip. And it was confirmed in The Talking Dead afterwards that it was a 6-year time skip. Now, me knowing what I know about Rick Grimes, the character, What in the world would possibly be going on for 6 years that he would not find his way back to his family that he cares so much about, that he wants to be around? Like, why? What in 6 years means that Rick has still gone? Rick still isn't around. Rick is supposedly dead. Like, what could possibly keep him from coming back to his family? Whether or not he did die at some point, even if he was across the country. You imagine in a 6-year time, he would want to find his way back to his daughter, find his way back to Michonne. Like, it just makes no sense whatsoever that he would not have found a way back. Or, we won't figure out his reason for not finding a way back. Except, and I know someone's going to mention it, Scott Gimple said that there's going to be TV movies covering the Rick Grimes story. And you know what? Prove me wrong. Please, prove me wrong. But I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe it till I see it. I think that's a cop-out. I think that's something to get the fans excited about, that Rick's not really gone, but they're going to realize as they continue and their ratings drop, they're going to be like, oh, well, we thought we could do these movies, but we're finding out we just don't have the budget right now, or there's scheduling conflicts with Andrew Lincoln, we're going to have to do the movies later, and they're going to get pushed off, and then eventually never happen. That's my theory on that anyways. Say what you want about that. If the movie comes out, I'll stand corrected. I'll say I was wrong. But that's my leading theory. I think these movies are bullshit. I don't think they're actually going to happen. I think that is just a way to try to subdue what viewers they could possibly lose from this. Because let's face it, they're going to lose a lot of viewers. They've already lost. I hear all the time. I hear people say they stopped watching Walking Dead when Glenn died. I hear that from people constantly. And, Glenn was a great character, but Rick is your main character. So you lose that money from Glenn, how many more are you going to lose from Rick? I mean, I know I don't give a shit about, he's the last character I gave a shit about. I gave a shit about him and Carol. And the last, 2-3 seasons, they haven't done anything with Carol. And this is the problem, and let me just continue. Okay, 6-year time skip. Then we get introduced to a whole bunch of new characters that are just there that okay, so let's get into these new characters first. This is the problem The Walking Dead has also, is that they just constantly introduce a shit ton of new characters without continuing to develop the old ones. You have characters from Season 1, which there's only 2 left. There's Daryl and Carol. Those are literally the only 2 characters from Season 1 that are left. But you don't continue to evolve them or much. Daryl hasn't really evolved as a character. He just goes around and grunts and shoots things with his crossbow. He doesn't really have a character arc. He doesn't really go through an arc. And Carol hasn't really gone through an arc since the whole thing with the wolves and whatever. And then I guess she meets Ezekiel and there's something there. But I mean, this is the problem the show always does. And then we introduce these new characters. We spend 2 full episodes with them. And then they get killed off and you're supposed to care. Where I don't care. I don't care about these characters. I care about the people I've been following from the beginning. That's what I've always said. Those are the people that I give a shit about. Anyone introduced past Season 4, I don't care. I just don't care about them. And then we get the money shot, right? At the end of this little time skip, a bunch of zombies are shot in the head. The new characters run into the woods. And who's there? Who saved them? It's Judith. Oh, and she's what? 9 years old, 10 years old, I don't know. I'm bad with child ages. But she's there and somehow can perfectly accurately shoot all these zombies in the head. It kind of just goes to, the show is just pure up fantasy now. It's no longer realistic survival zombie apocalypse. It's just complete fantasy. That Daryl can have his crossbow at all times and constantly reload it and constantly shoot accurately every shot. That a 9-year-old girl can shoot 6 zombies in the head from that far of a distance and save a bunch of people. It's just complete total fantasy now. There's no realism in the show whatsoever. I know realism with zombies, I know, but when the show started, it felt grounded, right? And it's just been more and more fantastical as it goes on. And yeah, so now we're gonna have this Judith character and this time skip, and all the characters have redesigns except for Daryl, who looks exactly the same. And that's where the show's going to go forward. So the show's going to go forward, and we're going to get a bunch of new characters, and they're all going to have their little backstories, and some of them are going to die. And I know they're going to start doing the Whisperers arc, which they probably won't even get into that till towards the end of the season because of how much they drag things out. And like I said, at this point, there's really no one left that I care about. So I I don't have any interest in continuing to watch the show. I definitely don't have any interest in making any more videos. I mean, maybe if they do like a Maggie's leaving also at some point this season. That could be the only thing I could think to talk about, depending on what they do with that episode, if they bring Glenn back for a flashback or something. Also, Maggie didn't kill Negan in this episode, and she totally should have. I don't care if Negan's crying. Like, who cares if Negan's crying? It's like, oh, you're broken enough. No, you're not. He bashed your husband's brains in with a baseball bat. Kill that fucker. I hate that shit. I hate shit in movies where it's like, I'm going to get revenge, and then at the last second, it's like, no, I'm going to be the better person and not do... Like, dude, if somebody bashed, like, my best friend's... I don't have a wife, but, like my best friend or someone I loved brains in with a bat, and I had the opportunity to kill them, I don't care. Like, committing myself on the video, I guess, to say that, like vengeance would be had. I don't care. It's not going to make things better, I know, but they don't... If they did that to someone I cared about, they don't deserve to live. I'm sorry, that's how I feel about it, but I digress. Anyways, what did you guys think about this final Rick episode? Comment all that down below. I'd be curious to know your thoughts. Are you going to keep watching The Walking Dead? Are you going to stop? Let me know what you think below, and thanks a lot for watching this video. Give it a like. I'll talk to you next time.